From almost ruining Marge's legal reputation to his struggle to go sober, these are all the times Homer's alcoholism almost destroyed his family. We're kicking off our list with Homer's worst drunk moment of them all, framing Marge for his DUI in Codependence Day. The episode opens and Homer, Bart, and Lisa are seeing the latest Cosmic Wars movie, The Gathering Shadow, but it's a total letdown, stuffed with boring politics and questionable stereotypes. Bart and Lisa, feeling betrayed, write a letter to the franchise creator Randall Curtis, but his response is not thoughtful criticism, or either of those things. The Simpsons decide to take a trip to California, giving everybody a chance to do what they really want to do. Homer and Marge hit the wineries, sampling way too much wine, while Bart and Lisa head to Cosmic Wars Ranch to confront Curtis. They tell him straight up that his movies have lost the magic. Surprisingly, he listens and vows to get back to basics, after a quirky tauntaun ride to the video store for inspiration. Meanwhile, Homer and Marge are, well, they're drunk. Extremely drunk.
Whoa! I'll give you money. Okay, I'm going to tell.
Back home in Springfield, the wine drinking continues. The drinking soon spirals from bad to worse. Homer and Marge keep it up for days, but Marge hits a wall with a brutal hangover. She decides they need to stop. But then they hit an Oktoberfest, of all places, and Marge, trying to stay sober, caves because the woman has no backbone. Both of them get hammered, and Homer decides to drive. He crashes the car, flips it over, and panics. To avoid getting in trouble, he frames Marge as the driver. Anyway, Marge gets bailed out, but the damage is done. Barney suggests rehab, Barney of all people, so off she goes for a month. But when Homer visits Marge at rehab, guilt finally gets to him, and he confesses the whole thing. Marge is understandably furious, but starts to realize, with the help of her fellow rehab patients, that she misses Homer more than she enjoys drinking. Against all common sense, Marge forgives him, and they head home together with a hell of a lot to work on, but still standing together. Homer's crime spree is extensive here, driving under the influence, leaving the scene of an accident, framing Marge for DUI, public intoxication, take his license away permanently, and fine him $6,000. So why not go sober? Well, because in Duffless, he tries to do that and then realizes how difficult it truly is. The episode starts with Bart dreaming of winning first prize at the school science fair with a go-go ray. That makes teachers dance uncontrollably. Of course, reality hits hard when Lisa snaps him out of his sleep, flaunting her actual project, a genetically engineered tomato meant to solve world hunger.
More tomato.
Yes, please.
Bart, meanwhile, plans a questionable experiment involving Santa's little helper and cigarettes, which Marge quickly shuts down. Meanwhile, Homer ditches work to tour the Duff Brewery with Barney. They indulge in free samples. Barney way more than Homer, but Homer still gets caught driving afterward, despite drinking basically nothing. Even though he passes a sobriety test flawlessly, he's arrested thanks to Barney suggesting the breathalyzer. Wow, what a friend. Ironically, Barney, completely smashed, gets to drive off after hitting Chief Wiggum with his car. But Homer's arrest leads to some consequences. Quitting beer is a disaster at first, with his first AA meeting giving him a pretty clear conclusion of what is going on here. Marge urges Homer to just give up drinking for one single month, which he promises to do, but he's soon haunted with beer ads and memories of his first sip, tempting him off the path of sobriety. Still, he sticks with it because, well, he wants to actually stay in his own bed. Bart retaliates with his own bizarre science project, training the smarter hamster to fly a toy plane, which steals the spotlight and the first prize ribbon at the fair. There are upsides for Homer's misery. His belly shrinks, he saves money, and Marge is thrilled. But Homer is barely holding on, and as soon as the 30 days are up, he bolts to Moe's, cash in hand. Just when it seems like he'll fall back into old habits, he looks around at the regulars, completely wrecked by their drinking, and decides against it. You know what? The old sack of booze has finally learned something. He leaves the bar and heads home, surprising Marge by showing how serious he is about this. He values his wife more than his beer. The episode wraps up with what might be, in my opinion, the sweetest moment in the entire show, and we can assume he'll drink less going forward. In Homer's night out, Homer enjoys a night with the guys and gets so drunk, so Bart orders this little spy camera from a mail catalog. He starts snapping candid shots around the house, catching everyone, including Homer and Marge in their private moments. Homer announces he's off to a bachelor party for his supervisor Eugene Fisk, and Marge, for some reason, decides to take the kids out to eat at the same seafood restaurant where the party's happening. Of course, the guys are celebrating in a private room, so they don't have to deal with the kids. But things get wild when Princess Cashmere, a belly dancer, shows up at the party. She doesn't exactly wow the guest of honor, but Homer, oh, he's all in, dancing with her, shoving money into her G-string, the whole 9 yards. But of course, Bart stumbles upon the party, spy camera in hand, and snaps the perfect shot of Homer in action. The next day, Bart is showing off his new camera skills in the school's photo club. He develops the Homer and Cashmere pic and weirdly gives one copy to Milhouse, who naturally shares it with everyone in town. Eventually, Marge sees the picture plastered on the wall during aerobics class. Furious, she storms home, shoves the photo in Homer's face, and demands answers. Bart owns up to taking the picture, but Marge isn't having it. She sends Homer packing with a hastily packed suitcase. She does not want him in the house. Homer crashes at Barney's disgusting apartment and is humiliated at work when even Mr. Burns grills him about the photo. Desperate to make things right, Homer goes back home, but Marge doesn't want another empty apology. Instead, she insists Homer find the woman and teach Bart that women aren't objects. So Homer and Bart go on a heartwarming father-son adventure through Springfield's strip clubs as they search for Cashmere. They eventually find her at the Sapphire Lounge, busy prepping for her next gig. But she gives Homer a glimpse of her life beyond the stage, her normal, uninteresting human life. Before they can leave, Homer somehow ends up center stage during a big international-themed dance routine. Seeing Bart in the audience, he seizes the moment to deliver an impassioned speech about respecting women. It's unexpectedly heartfelt, even moving the singer to call his mom. Marge, watching from the crowd, is touched by Homer's words. They finally reconcile, with Marge believing that Homer has actually changed. But a criminal never changes, contributing to the delinquency of a minor. Homer probably won't be going back into the strip club anytime soon. But you will see him so drunk, he's leering at other women. Yeah, this is the War of the Simpsons. The episode opens with Marge throwing a dinner party, but Homer has basically ruined the whole thing. As per usual, he's drunk, pulling juvenile stunts, making inappropriate comments, and this.
Could you give me a handful of peanuts, Maud?
Oh, sure. Okay.
Not those peanuts.
Oh.
The ones at the bottom.
Oh, okay.
Seriously? Ogling Maud Flanders? Come on, Homer. He eventually passes out on the floor, sleeping through until morning. Marge is beyond humiliated, even rolling him onto his stomach just to make sure he doesn't die overnight. The next morning, Marge is furious. Understandably so. Her husband humiliated her in front of everybody they know. She drags Homer into the car and blasts the radio so the kids don't overhear their argument. Homer apologizes to her, but it's not enough. Marge makes it clear that his antics have crossed the line, and only professional help can salvage this now. She signs them up for a marriage counseling retreat at Catfish Lake, which Homer only agrees to when he learns it's by a legendary fishing spot. Before they leave, Grandpa steps in as a last-minute babysitter. Bart and Lisa immediately take advantage, convincing Grandpa to chauffeur them to Krusty Burger. At the retreat, things are even more tense. Homer and Marge are simply on totally different pages. It's like they don't even know one another. Marge pours her heart out in therapy, while Homer fantasizes about fishing for the legendary catfish. Eventually, he just can't help himself anymore. He sneaks out early one morning, hooks the massive fish, and wrestles it onto his boat. Meanwhile, Marge spots him from the cabin and feels betrayed again. Back home, Bart and Lisa's living situation spirals into chaos, leaving the house a total wreck. When they see Grandpa sobbing, they feel guilty and clean up the mess, only to discover Grandpa faked the tears to manipulate them. Back at the lake, Homer returns with the fish, singing triumphantly, but Marge gives him an ultimatum: their marriage or the fish. In a rare moment of clarity, Homer releases General Sherman to prove his love for Marge, and they head home to find the house miraculously spotless. Grandpa smugly reveals his trickery, and the kids vow revenge. Homer's crimes: public intoxication, sexual harassment. Everybody knows Homer's drunken behavior was totally unacceptable, but it also qualifies him for the role of a sketchy bar owner. That's what happens in Homer the Mo. The episode starts at Moe's Tavern, where the usual crew is bored out of their minds. Even Mo is over this whole bar thing. Mo realizes that something in him has changed. He has to reconnect with his love for the job, so he decides to spruce things up and heads to his old bartending school for inspiration, leaving Homer in charge of the bar. Shockingly, Homer does a great job. There's dancing, good vibes, and everyone's having a blast. But then Moe comes back with a bold plan: transform the tavern into a trendy, exclusive nightclub called M, ditching Duff and his regulars in the process. Suddenly, Homer, Lenny, Carl, and Barney find themselves out in the cold, replaced by snooty hipsters. Feeling betrayed, they set up their own bar in Homer's garage, with Bart and Lisa working the taps, and it's a massive hit. Duff drinkers flock to the garage, and the atmosphere is everything Moe's used to be: fun, loud, and friendly. Meanwhile, Moe's swanky new clientele turns out to be a nightmare. They're uptight, hate football, and don't want to talk to Moe, which are, the 3 things he hates the most. Realizing he's made a huge mistake, Moe sneaks into Homer's garage bar, only to find REM playing for the crowd. Moe tries to reconnect with the guys, but the old gang isn't ready to forgive him though, still stung by how easily he tossed them aside. You know what that means: vengeance. Moe decides to shut down the garage bar by pointing out a legal technicality: they can't serve alcohol unless it's a legitimate club. Homer improvises, claiming it's a hunting club, but Moe calls his bluff. They actually need to hunt something to qualify. Homer declares they'll hunt a turkey for Thanksgiving. The next day, Homer and Lisa head out to hunt, but Lisa tries to stop her dad from actually killing anything. Moe secretly joins forces with Lisa purely to sabotage Homer, and together they scare off the turkeys by mimicking a cougar. Homer panics and fires wildly, accidentally shooting Moe in the leg. But finally, in the chaos, Moe and Homer finally make up. In the end, everyone gathers at the reopened Moe's Tavern for Thanksgiving dinner. Moe's back to his old self, REM provides a tofu turkey, and Homer's crew is reunited. It's about as good as an ending as you can hope for in Springfield. But we have a better ending: crimes, operating an unlicensed bar, serving alcohol to minors, hunting without a license, reckless discharge of a firearm. Homer would have to pay a lot of fines for these crimes. You're looking at $20,000 minimum. Okay, so maybe owning a bar is not something Homer truly wants to do, but commanding a revolution in favor of beer? Well, yeah, that sounds more his thing. It's Homer versus the 18th Amendment. The episode kicks off in St. Patrick's Day, with Springfield going full tilt on booze and festivities. And then some. Bart, clueless as ever, skips wearing green and gets pinched by every kid at school. But at the parade, he buys a novelty horn, and when a Duff beer float sprays free beer, his horn catches it all. Now Bart is getting drunk in public, and on TV no less, for the whole world to see. Marge is mortified and bans Homer from drinking for the day, just to send a clear message to their son. But things escalate. Some women complain to the mayor, and surprise, an ancient prohibition law turns out to still be valid. Suddenly booze is illegal in Springfield, and Homer's worst nightmare comes true. Duff goes out of business, the town's alcoholics freak out, and the mafia steps in with bootleg beer. Moe's bar becomes a secret speakeasy disguised as a pet shop, with people sneaking in for drinks and dancing. It's illegal, of course, but Chief Wiggum is too drunk and useless to stop it. So the town brings in Rex Banner, a no-nonsense lawman who's way too good at his job, especially for Springfield standards. But Homer decides to fight back. He starts smuggling booze from the city dump, stashing it in hollow bowling balls, and sending them to Moe's through an underground system. Lisa, of course, is horrified, but the family votes to ignore her as ever. Homer becomes the beer baron, and Rex is determined to catch him. When Homer eventually runs out of beer, he tries making moonshine, but still keeps blowing up. Marge finally convinces him to quit before he burns the whole house down. To end it all, Homer confesses to Wiggum, but instead of a slap on the wrist, he's sentenced to be launched from a catapult, which is impressive. Right before he's sent flying, Marge calls out the absurdity of the law. Just in time, it's revealed the prohibition law was repealed nearly 200 years ago. Beer flows back into town, everyone's happy and drunk, and Homer caps it off with a toast. I strongly doubt Homer ever dreamed of being a legendary beer baron. Unlike being a rock star in How I Spent My Strummer Vacation, Homer finally gets to live out his drunken rock star fantasy. The episode starts with Homer embarrassing everyone by ranting about how annoying his family are on public television. Naturally, the family's upset, but they realize there's something deeper going on. It turns out that Homer's bummed he never got to live out his dream of being a rock star. So they surprise him by sending him to the Rolling Stones rock and roll fantasy camp. At the camp, Homer is in heaven. He's learning to shred guitar, sing like a rock god, ... dodge groupies, and basically live out every middle-aged man's rock star dream. He's joined by Otto, Lenny, Carl, and some other Springfielders, all equally pumped to live the rock star life. But when the camp ends, Homer is crushed. It's like his dreams are over all over again. Sensing his despair, the actual Rolling Stones offer him a gig, helping out with their next concert. Homer cannot wait. It's everything he ever dreamed of. At first, things seem awesome. Homer gets an all-access pass and takes it very literally, helping himself to snacks at the refreshment counter and even wandering into the ladies' room. Anyway, reality quickly sets in for poor Homer, as he realizes that his dreams were, not entirely realistic. Homer's devastated. He thought he was finally going to perform in front of the world, be a real star. Seeing the crowd and his friends ready to cheer him on, Homer can't help himself. He hijacks the stage, guitar in hand, and starts living out his rock star fantasy for real. Yeah, who needs permission? But the Stones, along with their many guests from Rock Camp, are furious that Homer's stealing the spotlight. In the end, Homer realizes he's taken things too far. The Stones invite him to perform with them at another gig as an olive branch, but Homer turns them down. He already has the best band he could ask for, his family. They gift him a Guitar Hero jacket and the Devilhead car, which Homer promptly uses to mess with Bart's school drop-off and torch Principal Skinner's suit. Homer's crime spree: public indecency, trespassing, disturbing the peace, reckless endangerment, property damage. Depending on how injured the audience is, a solid $3,000 in fines for all the trespassing and a lot of damages. I guess alcoholism and rock stars kinda go hand in hand, right? Like The Simpsons and Family Guy. Yeah, technically this is a Family Guy episode, but hey, Homer's alcoholism plays a big role in the chaos. It's the Simpsons Guy. The episode starts with Peter Griffin getting roasted online after one of his comic strips offends women. Things blow up so much that an angry mob shows up at Griffin's door, forcing the family to flee Quahog until the drama dies down. Again, pretty much a typical Tuesday for the Griffins at this point in the show's history. After a long night of driving, the Griffins stop for gas, only to have their car stolen, leaving them stranded near Springfield of all places. They stumble into the Quickie Mart where Homer Simpson introduces himself and offers to help. With the police unwilling to do anything, the Simpsons let the Griffins stay at their place while Peter and Homer try and fail to recover the car. Meanwhile, the Griffin kids get into Springfield-style chaos. Bart teaches Stewie how to skateboard, only for Stewie to kidnap Bart's bully Nelson and torture him in a very Stewie way. Lisa tries to bond with Meg, but ends up jealous when Meg turns out to be a natural on the saxophone. You get the picture. They're basically the same family, but one is distinctly more psychotic than the other. So Homer and Peter team up to find the car, but their efforts keep going hilariously wrong until they eventually discover Hans Moleman has been using the car as pants. Yeah. Having achieved their goal, the guys celebrate at Moe's, where Peter introduces Homer to Pawtucket Patriot Ale, his beer of choice. Before they can launch into a full-on fight, Moe rips off the label to reveal Pawtucket Patriot really is just relabeled Duff. Things escalate to an epic showdown between Quahog and Springfield in court. Yeah, we're getting legal in this cartoon. In court, Peter defends the brewery, creating a rift between the two towns. Tensions boil over, and Peter and Homer's friendship explodes into a brutal, physics-defending brawl between the two of them. They end up destroying Springfield, fighting in the nuclear power plant, gaining temporary superpowers, wrecking Kang and Kodo's spaceship, and finally crashing into Springfield Gorge. And all this over a damn beer. After all that, they make peace, kinda. Back home, the Griffins find the mob drama has blown over. Stewie pretends he's over Bart, but tearfully writes, "I won't think about Bart" on a chalkboard, proving he's still obsessed to some degree. I mean, I guess Homer's drinking here kinda destroyed the town, but he can still use it to save Moe's, right? That's what happens in Flaming Moe's. So Moe's Tavern is tanking financially as always, and Moe is desperate to turn things around. That's when Homer tells him about this drink he accidentally created, the Flaming Homer. Back at home, Homer explains that it all started when Patty and Selma were showing the family their latest vacation slides. Homer couldn't find any beer, so he mixed together random drops of liquor from empty bottles and accidentally tossed in some crusty brand cough syrup. Then when Patty's cigarette set it on fire, he discovered that flame somehow made it taste amazing. Anyway, Moe tries it, loves it, and immediately rips off Homer's idea. He renames it,
Well, it's called a flaming...
Mo. It's called the Flaming Mo. That's right, a Flaming Mo. My name is Mo, and I invented it. That's why it's called a Flaming Mo. What? What are you looking at, Homer? It's a Flaming Mo. I'm Mo.
Flaming Moe turns the place into a massive hit overnight, like Aerosmith hanging out their levels of cool. Meanwhile, Homer is steaming. He feels totally betrayed by his buddy, especially as Moe's fame grows and grows for something he didn't even create. But then some select guy from a big chain restaurant, Tipsy McStaggers, shows up with a $1 million offer for the drink's recipe. Moe, feeling all principled, refuses twice. He will never sell his baby, but the guy's lab is close to cracking the formula, missing just one ingredient. Moe, still riding high, keeps the secret tight. That is until a waitress he hired guilt trips him into doing the right thing, splitting the deal with Homer. He resists as long as he can, but eventually he's fine with it. Moe's ready to make amends, but then, out of nowhere, Homer shows up, totally unhinged, standing in the rafters and cackling like a madman. He's had it with Moe's betrayal and blurts out the secret ingredient. Just like that, the $1 million deal goes up in smoke, the Tipsy McStaggers guy shreds the check, and within days, every restaurant in Springfield is selling knockoff Flaming Moe's, killing Moe's business entirely. In the end, Homer comes back to the now empty bar, and instead of holding a grudge, Moe surprises him with a flaming Homer on the house. They apologize to each other, and Moe sums it up best. Well, Homer came close to saving the bar, and I think that's what matters. But our final episode, The City of New York versus Homer Simpson, is a perfect demonstration of why Homer should never skip work to drink. It all kicks off when Moe institutes a designated driver rule to cut down on the bar's customers, causing Springfield's traffic accidents. Somehow Barney, the town's least sober guy, ends up with the job, and watching everyone party around him sends him spiraling. He wants to have fun with everybody else, but he can't have fun sober. Things really unravel when a Duff beer promo rolls in, complete with Duffman hyping up the crowd. Barney snaps at the temptation, but sticks to his role, driving everyone home and promising Homer he'll return his car the next day. Of course, he does not. 2 months later, Homer's car and Barney are still missing. Moe is convinced they're gone for good, but Barney eventually shows up in rough shape, remembering absolutely nothing about the last 2 months. Furious, Homer builds a bizarre car out of junk from the garage to cope, but a letter from New York reveals his car is in Manhattan. He just has to go and collect it. Homer is less than thrilled. He hates the city thanks to a nightmare trip in the 70s, but Marge and the kids are excited. So Homer begrudgingly agrees to take a trip to retrieve the car. The family bus ride is long and chaotic, but they're excited when they finally reach the city. While Marge and the kids explore, Homer heads to the World Trade Center Plaza, where his car is swamped with tickets and immobilized with a boot. Welcome to New York, man. It's been waiting for you. Fed up, Homer haphazardly removes the boot with a stolen jackhammer, destroying his car in the process. Meanwhile, the rest of the family has a blast exploring the city and enjoying its sights, and Homer frantically drives them out of Manhattan, dodging traffic and flinging insults at the city. As the family finally reflects on their trip, Homer's hatred of New York only grows stronger.